Lewis Hamilton just set the paddock on fire in Bahrain. A Ferrari that looks nuclear over one lap. Top speeds above 345 kilometers per hour. A brand new power unit with a 350 kilowatt electric punch that does not clip at the end of the straight. Over 4,000 kilometers completed without a single major failure. On the surface, it looks like the dream. The red revival. The perfect start to a title charge. But then came the engineer briefing. And what was said behind closed doors tells a very different story. Thermal clipping in extreme heat. Rear tires falling off a cliff after 12 laps. Hamilton forced to drive at 80% just to protect the car. A qualifying monster. A Sunday question mark. By the end of this video, you will understand what Hamilton really told his engineers after preseason testing, why the SF26 might be the fastest car over one lap, and why its narrow operating window could decide the entire championship. If you care about what is actually happening beneath the surface in Formula One, subscribe now. Because the truth behind Ferrari's preseason might shock you. Preseason testing is officially over. No more hiding behind fuel loads. No more conservative engine maps. Bahrain gave us clarity, and the Ferrari SF26 revealed two completely different personalities. Let's rewind to Barcelona. The debut was quiet, almost suspiciously quiet. Ferrari avoided headline laps and focused on aerodynamic correlation. Hamilton stepped out of the car relieved, but not ecstatic. The car was stable. No violent bouncing. No obvious balance disaster. But it was heavy on the steering, demanding under-braking. Engine modes were extremely conservative, reportedly hiding more than a second and a half of performance. That was not weakness. That was strategy. Then Bahrain happened, and the silence ended. On Wednesday morning, Charles Leclerc unleashed a lap that shocked the paddock. The SF26 looked planted through high-speed corners. Calm, confident, almost effortless. Top speeds climbed above 345 kilometers per hour thanks to Ferrari's aggressive active rear wing concept. And the Ferrari 067/6 power unit delivered full electric deployment without visible clipping. Over one lap, it looked devastating. But inside the garage, Hamilton's focus was not on headline times. It was on braking. Under these new regulations, the front axle regenerates enormous amounts of energy. That changes pedal feel dramatically. Early in Bahrain, leaked radio suggested Lewis was uncomfortable with brake by wire inconsistency. The pedal response felt non-linear. Corner entry rotation was unpredictable. For a driver whose strength is precision braking, that is a serious concern. But over the final 48 hours, Hamilton worked late with engineers to remap torque delivery and adjust differential settings. By Friday, something clicked. He discovered a way to rotate the car in slow corners using regenerative engine braking. It was subtle, but it restored confidence. And confidence unlocked pace. Now, let's talk about the engine. Ferrari are not using Ford. They are running their own 067/6 power unit, and it has been one of the revelations of testing. While Mercedes and Audi reportedly struggled with temperature issues, the Ferrari unit ran fresh and powerful. They even developed a manual override deployment mode that allows the full 350 kilowatt electric boost to be unleashed in qualifying without overheating the battery. That is nuclear over one lap. But then the long runs began, and that is where the engineer briefing shifted tone. In high temperature conditions, especially with track temperatures above 40 degrees, Hamilton reported thermal clipping. The battery cells reached their thermal limit before fully discharging. To protect the system, the software cut electric power earlier than ideal at the end of long straights. It feels like the car runs out of breath in the heat, Hamilton reportedly said. The combustion engine keeps pushing, but the electric punch disappears, and that changes overtaking dynamics. Then came the rear tire issue. Ferrari's electric torque delivery is aggressive, explosive on corner exit, perfect for qualifying. But in long stints, especially in traffic, the rear tires overheat quickly. Grip drops suddenly, not gradually. Hamilton described having to drive at 80% on exits to avoid destroying the rears. That is not sustainable championship pace. In comparison, Red Bull degrade more predictably, more linearly. The Ferrari is a Saturday weapon, but Sunday remains a test. And yet, reliability might be their strongest asset. Across Barcelona and Bahrain, the SF26 completed more than 4,300 kilometers without a major mechanical failure. That is equivalent to 14 race distances. Ferrari can start the season with their most aggressive engine maps available. No fear, no hesitation. So here is the truth emerging from Hamilton's engineer briefing. The SF26 might be the fastest car over one lap. It might deliver pole positions. It might dominate short bursts, but its operating window is narrow. When track temperatures fall below 30 degrees, it is magical. When heat rises and wind picks up, the rear becomes nervous, unpredictable, and that is where championships are decided. Pre-season testing is done. The stopwatch has spoken. Ferrari have built a monster for qualifying. Lewis Hamilton has adapted faster than many predicted. The braking confidence is returning. The motivation is visible. But the shocking truth is this: speed is not the question. Consistency in extreme conditions is. If Ferrari can widen the operating window before Melbourne, the dream could begin immediately. If not, the Sunday reality will expose them. And that is exactly why the first race will tell us more than any test ever could. And here is where the internal tension becomes impossible to ignore. Because inside that engineer briefing, one theme kept resurfacing: window. Hamilton reportedly described the SF26 as having a very specific operating window. When track temperatures drop below 30 degrees, the car feels alive. It rotates naturally. It grips the rear axle with confidence. It becomes, in his words, almost an artwork on track. But when temperatures climb, especially above 40 degrees as they did in Sakir, everything tightens. The rear tires heat aggressively. The electric torque becomes harder to manage. The battery approaches its thermal ceiling. And suddenly the magic fades. This is not a fundamental flaw. It is sensitivity. And sensitivity is dangerous in a championship fight. Because Formula One does not reward cars that are brilliant in perfect conditions. It rewards cars that are stable in imperfect ones. Hamilton reportedly expressed frustration about excessive lift and coast during the hottest sessions. He had to lift hundreds of meters before braking zones just to keep temperatures in the green. That is endurance racing management, not pure Formula One aggression. And when you combine thermal clipping with rear tire drop-off, you create a strategic dilemma. Push early and dominate track position, or protect the rear axle and risk losing momentum. Red Bull, by contrast, appear to degrade more linearly, more predictably. Ferrari's degradation is described as sudden. A cliff. Grip holds beautifully for 10 laps, then disappears sharply. That unpredictability forces drivers to hold margin, and holding margin costs lap time. Yet, here is the paradox. Ferrari's reliability is rock solid. More than 4,300 kilometers completed without a major mechanical failure. The engine is powerful. The hybrid system is innovative. The active rear wing concept is legal and devastating in qualifying. On pure pace, they may have the edge over one lap. Fred Vasseur publicly dismissed the test times, saying they are meaningless, but his body language suggested confidence. Internally, Ferrari know they have built something aggressive. Lewis himself said, "The DNA is there." That is not a casual statement. That is belief. But belief must survive heat. And that is the core of this story. Hamilton's adaptation has been impressive. From early brake by wire discomfort to discovering rotational tricks using regenerative braking. From skepticism to visible optimism. He has shaped the cockpit to his liking. Molded ergonomics over winter. Injected his presence into Maranello. But the shocking truth behind the engineer briefing is this: Ferrari are incredibly fast. Perhaps the fastest on a single lap, but they are temperature sensitive. And temperature sensitivity in a global championship that travels through Miami, Singapore, Hungary, and the Middle East can become decisive. Pre-season testing is complete. There are no more controlled experiments. The next time these cars hit the track, points will be on the line. If Melbourne runs cool in the evening, Ferrari could look unstoppable. If heat and wind rise, the rear may become nervous again. The SF26 is not weak. It is volatile, and volatility creates drama. So the real question after preseason is not whether Hamilton can take pole. He probably can. The real question is whether Ferrari can expand that operating window before the heat exposes them again. Because championships are not won on perfect days. They are won when conditions turn uncomfortable. And that is where the shocking truth behind Hamilton's engineer briefing will be tested. And this is where the situation inside Ferrari becomes even more fascinating. Because there is another layer beneath performance: pressure. Lewis Hamilton did not come to Maranello to manage tire temperatures. He came to fight for a championship. And the SF26, as revealed in preseason, is a car that can deliver glory or frustration. Inside the engineer briefing, the conversation reportedly shifted from raw pace to sustainability. Not how fast are we, but how long can we stay that fast? That question defines championships. On low fuel, the Ferrari looks devastating. The manual override deployment empties the battery with surgical precision. The active rear wing rotates aggressively on straights, cutting drag dramatically. Top speeds soar. The car looks planted in high-speed corners. In qualifying trim, it might be the most intimidating machine on the grid. But race pace exposes truth. And in Bahrain's extreme heat, the cracks were subtle but real. Thermal clipping when battery temperatures spike. Rear tire degradation that feels manageable until it suddenly is not. Hamilton reportedly described having to reduce aggression on corner exits to preserve the rears. That is a strategic compromise. Now imagine this scenario. Pole position on Saturday. Track temperature rising on Sunday. Red Bull sitting behind with more predictable degradation. If Hamilton pushes early to break the DRS window, he risks overheating the rears. If he manages pace conservatively, he invites pressure. That is the knife-edge Ferrari are balancing on. And yet, this is not a story of weakness. It is a story of potential. Because if Ferrari solve the temperature sensitivity, if they widen that operating window even slightly, the championship equation changes instantly. Reliability is not the concern. More than 4,300 kilometers completed without major failure. The engine is powerful. The braking confidence is returning. Hamilton has already adapted from early brake by wire discomfort to mastering regenerative rotation techniques. The foundation is strong, but Formula One is ruthless. It punishes narrow windows. It punishes sensitivity. It rewards balance. And right now, Ferrari's balance is temperature dependent. Hamilton himself acknowledged that when conditions cool, the car feels like art. When heat rises, it becomes unpredictable at the rear. That unpredictability is the final piece of the puzzle. Because unpredictability under race pressure creates mistakes. And mistakes cost championships. Preseason testing has ended. The numbers are logged. The engineers have returned to Maranello with data, not speculation. The question now is simple. Can Ferrari widen the window before the heat of a full season exposes it? Because if they do, the SF26 is capable of pole positions, victories, and genuine title pressure. If they do not, the dream risks becoming conditional. Fast but fragile in the wrong conditions. And that is the shocking truth revealed after preseason. Ferrari are not pretenders. They are contenders. But whether they are champions will depend on one thing. Not their peak performance, but their stability when everything becomes uncomfortable. And that test begins the moment the lights go out.